Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're gonna talk about something very painful, ISRO 2022. Now, if you do not like negative types of video, please turn off this video. This is gonna be very brutal and very cruel, and especially for people who are like blind kind of followers, it may hurt a bit. So I would urge you just to log it off, just close this video. You don't need to watch it. Now, if you do understand why I want to speak like that, well, let's go. So what's the problem behind this? Well, problem is ISRO is failing behind, and it's failing faster and faster. What does that mean? That simply means the world has finally started to do things. There is a problem with the rocketry industry is that after Soviet Union collapsed, rocket industry kind of got stuck in 1970s, like the end, like no new development was done. There's like, okay, we have the money, we have the rockets, and like they tried to refine it, but nobody was like, okay, we have 3G, how about 4G? No, everybody was like, okay, 3G, let's just make it more energy efficient. So that was a very big thing in rocket industry. In this time, ISRO was refining project management, trying to improve the financial side of things, and it started to work, and like ISRO started to do missions on surprisingly lower cost. However, there is a whole new breed of pioneer, whole new generation of people and generation of startup companies that have come along, and they're like, let me show you how it's done. And the reality is, compared to those new startups, I'm not talking about SpaceX, I'm talking about basically Rocket Labs, I'm talking about Astra. They are going on a ludicrously high pace, and I'm not even talking about SpaceX, which mind you started on a much smaller budget. And even if you combine the money that they got from NASA and under the banner of commercial resupply mission and commercial crew program, it was not GG amounts of money. It was a very little amount of money, unless they were Boeing. So SpaceX did not get that money, and if you compare the holistically money as like how much whole, they did not have that much money. It's like that is the first excuse every Tom, Dick and Harry gives. Oh, ISRO does not have money. No, it has multiple times more money. And again, SpaceX now is of course much on a whole different level because they have succeeded and they have a lot of private investors now. But Rocket Labs, there's a tiny company, Astra, super tiny company, and yet all of them have started to come up to the table, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start designing a rocket, we're gonna build that rocket, we're gonna launch that rocket, it's gonna go boom, and we're gonna do it again until we reach orbit. And they have reached orbit. Electronaut, at this point in time, they crossed that point. They are like, okay, let's try to reuse the rocket, and at their current pace they will reuse it. So what does that mean? That simply means smaller private startups starting to match capability, meaning how many rockets ISRO can launch inside a year is not that high. And all these companies, small startups, are starting to match, and SpaceX is like a whole different level. It's like, yeah, put multiple countries and me on one side. That's how big difference. And all these things are startup companies. None of them are like 50 years old or like 30 years old. They're like 10, 20, 25 maximum. So that creates a serious stark reality that ISRO is just not on the same playing field. Like if company like this, small tiny rocket launchers, start to keep launching out rocket like it's going out of fashion, is almost like last season of some TV show. It's like, what the hell we are doing? And reality is, all the records that we had that for a short time gave us a lot of prestige, for example launching more than 100 satellites in one go, SpaceX is like, yeah, it was only a matter of time. But reality is like India could have done better simply because PSLV was not the biggest rocket India had. Biggest rocket India has is GSLV Mark III. We use the smallest rocket, and SpaceX is like, ride sharing, how about I beat that record by a long shot? And again, they can still keep beating it because their rocket is fundamentally far more capable. So all the records are being beaten at this point in time, and timelines are slipping, meaning the year RLV, basically it was a small shuttle sort of system, which for small system should work, but it's way behind schedule at this point in time. So problem is serious. When a small startups company start to match cadence, launch cadence similar to your multi-billion-dollar organization, there is some serious problem. Now, astronauts are a very important thing here because India so far has only one astronaut. Let that sink in. A country that is 75 years of independence only has one. That's just bad. Like Rakesh Sharma is the only individual, and he achieved orbit in 3 April 1984. He went up with Soviet Union, and I really like that mission insignia. And you can notice that person has a nation flag here. Now, there are because of the embarrassment of realizing that we only had one astronaut, many people started to call these sort of people as Indian astronaut. Basically Sunita Williams, like she has Indian origin, but again, fundamentally speaking, what's the nation flag? It's America, it's not India. She's not an Indian, she is American citizen going under America's banner. And you may think, okay, what if, like, because they are using American equipment, they have to claim under America. No, that's not the case. Like, this is space shuttle mission. Kalpana Chawla, another Indian, and every time is like Kalpana Chawla is Indian, Indian astronaut. No, she still is wearing the flag of America. And during the same mission, there is another astronaut from Israel. Israel was not building space shuttle, so that's the reality of it. And again, even her is a member. That's the benefit of being a member state in ISS. You get to send your astronaut, meaning you get to put your own national flag. That's why you have Japanese astronauts, you have basically American astronaut, you have European astronauts, you have a lot of other astronauts. You do not have Indian astronauts, and this sort of things is started to really start to show that India is like kind of just accepting it. It's like, yeah, we don't have any astronauts. Okay, so what? Now it really starts to mean something very horrible. What does that horrible thing? That simply means if there is a kid born in India who's seeing all this sci-fi movies and seeing Apollo missions, all that, like, I want to be an astronaut. Reality is flat out, there is no way of becoming astronaut. Flat out in India right now, you could be god tier smart, you could be god tier hardworking, but you still not be able to become astronaut. Reality is so at this point in time, you can do what these women did, or many other men also have done, is just leave the country. So you can understand that this is a very severe, high-grade brain drain. It is not something that you can just accept as a country, because again, these sort of people, astronauts, are cream of the cream of the cream. Losing few of them literally translates to your nation being dumber. So it's one of those things that hurts a nation. And manned mission also has another advantage. It unites the country. It is really important for the morale of the nation. For example, a lot of people who criticize Apollo mission, oh, it was super expensive, it was just a show off. Yes, deal, it was that. But here's deal, you calculate the cost, total cost, it's billions of dollars. Now here's the deal, what happened after Apollo? Meaning, when Apollo was shown to the kids who are actually seeing moon landing for the first time on goddamn television, what it led to? It led to ludicrously large amount of people going into science. What did that led to? That led to lot of revolution coming in from America. Lot, not one, or we developed this one thing. No, whole industry started to pop up simply because of that amount of driven kids became adults. You need to have that. If your kids are motivated, like from inside, not from external side effects, or not their parents beating the hell out of them. I'm talking internally. No, I want to become scientist, I want to become this, I want to. Your nation gets turbocharged. So their current mathematics is like, yeah, we spent billions of dollars, we got trillions of dollars out of it. So fundamentally it is a worthwhile investment. And one thing you have to understand from scientific point of view, yeah, it is absolutely true that it's much better to send instruments and all that jazz. But here's the, people do science for themselves. Science is like, humans are not born for the sake of science. We do science for the sake of humans. So human is far more important, and it will also stop brain drain. Because you have to understand, these people, many Indians, men and women who have went to other countries, be it USA, be it Europe, they are significantly intelligent. They are not something like lol. And again, if you keep losing cream of the cream, that is a serious brain drain, and that brain drain has to stop. Otherwise this nation will simply not grow. So that's why astronauts are very serious, and that's why this line is kind of diluting India's population's perspective, where they're like, no, we have astronauts. No, we don't. No, we don't. We only had one. And why is that? What's the problem? Well, the problem is in philosophy. Simply because we act like weak, dumb, and poor. And that's very painful. Like, if you look at what ISRO is doing from day one, at first few years it was like, okay, I understand that, but like, it never improved. It was like, you're still stuck. You're still goddamn stuck. And the biggest problem with that is that you cannot call a country that has 1.5 billion, I know it's a bit less than that, but I'm pretty sure it will become 1.5 soon. You cannot call a country of that size poor. No matter what you do, you simply cannot call them poor. And India is not poor. Again, it's not the richest, definitely not the richest, but definitely not the poorest. We got money, we got trillions of dollars in terms of our economics and GDP and everything. It's like, we are solid country. Now again, not the best of the best, but also not the worst of the worst. There are more than enough country that at this point in time, their citizens will do anything just to come to India. So reality is, and to give you a context of that, 1.5 billion, or like 1.39 right now, is like how big that number is. Well, remove 1 billion, that makes the third largest population on this planet, which is America. So yeah, India is significantly populated, significantly powerful, significantly, the amount of brains we have is more than enough to do anything. So we cannot simply say poor. And this, the brain drain in India is very significant, very brutal. And many times people say, oh, it's about money. No, it's not. Like, I'm talking serious missions, as in like many ISRO scientists have left. They joined ISRO, they did their best, and then they're like, yeah, I'm out. They have went to NASA, they have went to SpaceX, they have went, like, there are people, you can trace that. That's how many people have done this. And many times we say money because it's easy to understand. Oh, it's money. No, many times people leave for ambition. There is a movie, and I have not watched it, but it had a trailer. Again, it's based on a true events. Okay, bit butter masala for cinema and all that jazz. But again, the events were true, and the person was said something very poignant basically, and he said like what India is doing, basically trying to make this tiny rockets and tiny rocket engines. It's not rocketry, it's puppetry. We are making toys compared to even a small startup, and reality is we can look at output. Look at the output, like what neutron rocket is trying to do basically from Rocket Labs company. It's mind-bogglingly amazing. They are going all out. They are like, we're gonna make the most kick-ass rocket for this sort of tonnage capacity, for the price to performance ratio, reusability, everything. And what India is doing, something maybe. And why is that? Well, reality is we don't have ambition, and ambition literally creates if you are competent enough, if you are clever enough, you are powerful enough, smart enough, you do not want to work in a company or a corporation where it's like, yeah, we're just gonna scoot by. No, if your intelligence is tangibly high enough, you want to work in a situation. It's like, no, give me a goddamn challenge. Give me a challenge. Oh, you want to go to moon? I'm in. If you want to go to Mars, again, people working in SpaceX know for a fact that most of them may not live to see the Mars landing, but they are working towards it and they are putting their soul into it. Because again, smart people require smart challenges. That's why that ambition is the important aspect. And there's this TV show, science fiction show, The Expanse, and it had like a very poignant message for basically many people, and I would like to read you that. This has always been a problem for our kind. Again, put kind whatever you want to put there. Right now, I will put Indian. Even our dreams are small, and that hit me. That hit me. It's like, yeah, that's the whole thing. Now, why do I say Indians don't small? Like, this is Vikram Sarabhai, leading chairman of basically ISRO, basically founding father, quote unquote. Now, his problem, he laid down a foundation for ISRO. It's like how the heck ISRO is going to progress, like basically you guidelines, quote unquote. Now, he said something that at early ages, I felt like, oh, that's a very smart, but then I realized it was horrifyingly bad. What he said, we do not have a fantasy of competing with economically advanced nations. Now here's the deal. That may sound sensible. Again, India just got independence. It was not very strong in any sector basically at that point in time. But here's the deal. Not have the fantasy of competing simply. You could have said, we're not going to compete right now, but we will compete, or we will catch up to them. There was nothing like that. I have seen other agencies, other from Japanese people. Again, they were destroyed in World War II, but even their approach was like, again, we lost. That's absolutely true, but we're gonna come back. This is not come back. This is like, yeah, we know we really can't do that. I'm like, how the heck this individual, this is like god tier intelligent. There is no denying that. In terms of intelligence, undeniable. In terms of contribution, undeniable. But in terms of guts, in terms of laying the foundation for the next generation, this is a really bad foundation, where it's like, we do not have the dreams to compete. It's like, no, your dream should be like, okay, we're gonna compete. Again, you reached to the moon in 1969. Awesome for you. We're gonna catch up to you. Again, maybe not in 1980, maybe 1990, maybe 2000, maybe 2010, but we're gonna reach it. But this saying that we do not have the fantasy of competing, then I realized that's why, like, looking at the ISRO's roster of rockets, or looking at everything what ISRO does, it's like very pointless basically. It's like, we're gonna launch so we have something, one orbiter. Like, people have done orbiters for 10, 20, 30 years ago. So it's like, think of this way, like we are celebrating, oh, we successfully managed to reach one orbit of one celestial body. And again, at the same time when Earth, basically India was doing Mars orbiter, NASA was landing 1-ton car there, which was nuclear battery powered. That's the whole thing. The fact that we do not have the fantasy. It's like, even the people working in ISRO, it's not like, let me show what this nation can do. It's like, bare minimum, man. Bare minimum. So that really started to hurt me. Like, that really started to grind down to me. It's like, even our dreams are small. That's very problematic for a nation that has 1.5 billion people almost. Now, bad ideas are very serious at this point in time, simply because ISRO is trying to do better. Again, at least on paper, it starts to trying to do things like Gaganyaan, meaning manned mission. Again, awesome. It should be done. Again, brain drain is a very serious issue with this nation, and we need to unite the nation. Only problem is, right now, if India tries to do human mission, again, the unmanned test launch should happen this year, and the manned mission should happen in 2023. But problem is, it would be unsustainably expensive, meaning it would be like Apollo Project 2.0. Only difference is Apollo was like far more successful, but this will not happen simply because ISRO does not have any modern rockets. This is the roster of ISRO rockets, basically ASLV. Again, this will be soon replaced with small satellite launch vehicles. And then we have Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, Geostationary Satellite Launch Vehicle, and GSLV Mark 3, which this will be human rated. Now, all these rockets are outdated. From day one, they are outdated. Like, again, even if you build this now, it will be ludicrously outdated. It is very weak. All these things are very, very weak rockets. And none of them are cheap, meaning, again, a weak rocket itself is not an issue. Not every rocket has to be Falcon heavy. Not every rocket needs to be Atlas, Delta heavy or something like that. That does make sense, but again, none of them are cheap per ton of payload wise, and none of them are capable, meaning if you really go head to head against SpaceX, most of them will lose. And if you go again head to head against ESA, most of them will lose. And again, this is one thing, GSLV Mark 3 is really good capable rocket, meaning India's satellite launch is done. Like, we got this, we can launch our satellite. But seriously, if you keep looking at ISRO's roster, you're like, wait a minute, why the heck every year once or while you keep going to ESA for satellite launching? Reality is we cannot manufacture these fast enough, and that's the final nail in the coffin. Basically, none of them rockets are cheap, none of them are capable, and none of them are mass producible, meaning even if nation wants to do this, they cannot do this. So it's like, they cannot give order. Like, this has, I think, maximum order of 12 total life, project life, 12 orders, that's it. Not 12 rockets in a year, 12 total. So that's the whole problem, and we are still goddamn stuck in that outsourcing everything possible, including training. Now, again, you may say, we have Russia helping us out. That may be a good thing, but again, why do we need Russia? Like, again, at some point in time, Soviet Union cracked, launching human to space. Some point, America cracked it. But how the heck these people cracked it on their own, and we need someone hand holding us? It's like that shortcut that we are trying to take, that is taking basically valuable lessons away from us. And again, these are risky mission. You can do whatever you want to do, but again, at the end of the day, it's a risky mission. Every time a human goes on a boomstick like this, it is a risk factor. Again, soldiers know this. That's why the first generations of astronauts are always generally soldiers, because they know this for a fact. And again, it is serious. It is very serious. How serious? As in, like, in Apollo missions, they had recordings of each of the individual person who was, going on that super big boomstick. It's like, what if it goes boom? They had it before it was even launched. So that risk avoidance, and it's not avoidance as in, like, okay, we're gonna do our best, we're gonna build our the best. It's like, can we outsource this? Like, this is really bad. Again, same happened with our navigational project. Think of this way, like, right now multiple countries have figured out how to make international navigation systems. India is like, yeah, we kind of messed it up. It's like, why? Yeah, we bought basically atomic clock for our national security system. That's the problem. It's like our bad idea is just not ending. It's just stuck. This is really painful. And what we can expect in the future? Well, reality is India really needs to let go of solid boosters. We cannot just, like, okay, let's make the cheapest, weakest rocket possible, and then just keep slapping on everything. Okay, yeah, this satellite, yeah, really can't launch it. Can you add, two medium-sized boosters? It's still weak. Can you add two long-sized boosters? Can you add two tiny boosters? Like, that's how all rockets are in ISRO is being built right now, and all the other future rockets are still like that. They are like, basically, if you look at ISRO's roster, what they want to do in the future is like, for 2.10 we have this, 2.5 ton we have this, 2.6 ton we have this. All these are rockets. Literally, each of them are a configuration of a rocket. So total rocket built is like almost stupidly high, 2026 rockets. And you're like, wait a minute, that is stupid? Yeah, it is stupid. That's the whole problem. And this modular approach, every time they go, oh, it's like ISRO is doing modular approach, it's a really bad idea. There is a reason we don't have modular phones. It's like, it's a really, really idea. That modular approach for every ton is like, if you want to launch 1 ton, we're gonna have this module. We're gonna launch for 1.5 ton, we're gonna have different things. Sounds good, but it's really wasteful. That simply means you cannot advance order. You cannot mass produce it. You cannot go to your factory and it's like, hey, let's do this to refine it, because every model is different. Every core stage, because again, this core stage have to be bolted on. These bolts are not like, oh, USB plug, point. You're not gonna build a core like that. That's why they cannot just like loll the landing legs. If it's done, it has to be integrated. Everything about it has to be integrated, and that's why you will notice nowadays they no longer have that naked booster they used to do a lot. In the back, it's like, it's much cheaper. It's just cheaper. Just deal with it. Just boost the engine power. It's much cheaper rather than to, like, to remove the legs and all that jazz. It does not allow you to mass produce it, and that's India's biggest issue at this point in time. We flat out do not have any rocket that is A, capable, and B, mass producible. So that seriously creates an issue where it's like, yeah, we kept spending millions and millions and millions and millions, and output is like, yeah, 5 or 6 launches a year. It's really bad, because they are just not they're like, we are never gonna learn that goddamn liquid rockets are much better. Like, think of this, like, SpaceX, the biggest light bulb moment they had was the realization that after 1970, no significant advancement in rocket industry happened. It's like, They were race. The Cold War was a serious race. Like technology development went from not able to launch a goddamn rocket to going to the moon. It was like a very huge leap of faith. After that, that started to tone down. After that, it was like, hey, we have this engine. Can we refine it? Can we improve the avionics? Can we do this? Like, not it was not like let's rethink everything, which they were doing back in the days. That was the Elon Musk light bulb moment. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody is stuck in 1970. So everybody is claiming like blah 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 blah, but all of them are in 1970. They're like, okay, let me show you how 2000s rockets work. And that's why SpaceX is so popular, successful. It's like they realized every Tom, Dick, and Harry is stuck. That's why ESA's rocket, the current rocket they are building on, it's outdated before it's even launched. And that's why Starship, if completed, again, it will be completed, but it will take time, much longer than what he's claiming. But once it's done, it will be on a whole different level. Other people will be like, yeah, we don't have anything. So that's the whole thing. He realized that dumb idea of like having a dumb rocket and then like trying to ponk smaller boosters to that was a bad idea. That's why he built Falcon 9, one thing to rule them all, and succeeded. So that's the whole thing. You can have a liquid rocket which can throttle. You're like, hey, we built a 30-ton rocket. Yes, still you can still launch 1-ton object on it. You can just throttle it down. You can just like engine program, just chill. And you may not even need to reprogram anything. If the programming core is strong enough, it can just handle it. It's like, yeah, oh, I'm accelerating too much. Okay, engine throttle down. You just have to send a fixed acceleration value. For example, in Falcon 9, when upper stage starts to become too fast, basically 5G acceleration, that's their maximum limit. It's like it starts to go above 5. It's like, hey, calm down, bro, calm down. Let's chill. So that's the whole thing. And we simply have to improve the supply chain. We cannot be like, okay, this national security payload, yeah, let's launch it through ESA. Not acceptable. And we have to let go of this 1970s approaches, like one rocket for 1 ton, 1.5 rocket for 1.5 ton, 1.6 rocket for 1.6 ton. This is just not acceptable. Like 1970 have passed. One big rocket. And again, SpaceX also was making that mistake. They were gonna make multiple rockets. That's why they made Falcon 1, which was a trial and everything. They wanted to make Falcon 5. They learned very quickly, dumb idea. Throw Falcon 5 away, make Falcon 9. The end. And they become the world leader at this point in time. And same thing, ISRO is failing to learn that, and they're like, no, we're gonna keep making the goddamn same mistake. And again, I have to live in this point where I'm literally looking at kids. It's like, how to become an astronaut, and somebody is saying, yeah, just leave India. And again, it's true. So this was my presentation on basically ISRO's 2022 and the low dying hope that I have with it. But hopefully you have liked something about it or learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.